OW2con'24 is officially open. Concerning the program, we have a great program this year. So first, I would like to thank our keynote speakers. The event will start with Stefano Maffuli from OSI, and it will be the first stop for their open source AI tour in Europe. So it's an honor for us to welcome them. Then I will pass the floor to Patrick Masson from Apereo Foundation about first success stories in universities and beyond. And they also have a breakout session. You can see at the top of the slide the list of the breakout sessions. So breakout sessions are in dedicated rooms. And it's also an honor for us to welcome Apereo because it is they made OW2con their European event for their community. So the Apereo community is there, and you can meet them during their breakout session. Then we will welcome Tunisia as an invited country. So this is very interesting. They have organized an open source event last year in Tunis, and I was invited there. It was a great experience. So now they are here to talk about open source in Tunisia and Tunisia at large. We will also welcome Thierry Carrez from Open Infra, who will He has a quite original talk. He has a point of view, an interesting point of view about single vendor open source that can be considered maybe the new proprietary. So you can discuss that after with Thierry. On day 2, we also have a keynote, a very important keynote from Frank Karliczek, the CEO of Nextcloud. Because it's very important for sovereignty in Europe and so on. So having Nextcloud talking at OW2con, it's a bit new for us, and it's great. Then concerning the breakout sessions, you also have the OSPO Alliance with some OSPO success stories, and it's not really talks, it's more a kind of debate or discussion about OSPO, so you can meet people with OSPO experience there, it's interesting. We have a quite original breakout session with many people from Orange about accessibility, and they organize an escape game. Yes, an escape game. So you probably, I don't know exactly what is the synopsis of that game, but probably you are in the situation of someone with who needs accessibility. I mean, and you will probably discover that it's not easy. So that's the idea. And of course, one breakout about NGI. I will tell you more about the NGI EU initiative because it's very important for open source and for funding commons on projects. Also, 2 highlights. We have a roundtable about regulations on the CRA, which will be managed by Simon Phipps from OSI. And also, at the end, just before the closing of the event tomorrow, an open debate about FOSS funding, which will be led by Toby Langel from Unlock Open. So this is something new as well, a debate which will be quite open to anyone in the room. So you are welcome to participate in. So I just mentioned on the slide before the NGI initiative. For people who don't yet know it, NGI means Next Generation Internet. It is a Horizon Europe initiative, so it is funded by the European Commission. And the principle is what they call cascade funding. So they provide funds to a consortium who is in charge of organizing open calls to select projects, to select open source projects, and then to fund them. So currently we are at OW2, we are involved in 2 consortia. One is NGI Search. It is focused on internet search at large. And people can obtain up to 150k euro funding. So we are in the last stage of NGI Search. The last open call is currently open until the end of July. And this program has already funded some prominent commons, including Open Food Facts, the eFoundation, Software Heritage. Maybe I forget some, but I mean Mastodon as well. So these programs are very efficient to fund open source projects from the community. I mean, and most people who obtain funds from NGI never obtained any fund before. So it's very targeted to small projects and small organizations. It can even be individuals. So if you have something interesting to say on an important project for the internet infrastructure to propose, here it is, I mean. And the other one is NGI Zero Commons. It's just started. It is led by the NLNet Foundation in Netherlands. It is a huge fund, at least in the NGI galaxy. There are 21.6 million that will be redistributed in 3 years to the community at large. You can obtain 50k, but if the project is successful, you may apply more than just once. You can obtain more in different stages. And the principle is continuous open calls every 2 months. It is a kind of rolling open call. So it has started and you can apply. So I won't stay for all day on stage. I mean, it is not my stage here. It is it is yours. We have a lot of speakers coming. So of course, if I have something to add, it would be thank you very much to our sponsors, because if the event is free, it's because we have sponsors who help us organize it. So you can join our sponsor pods during the pauses. Maybe you saw them. They are in the main room at the top of the upstairs. So thank you very much, Collabora, City of Paris, OnlyOffice, Rocket Chat, Huawei, Maif, Orange, of course, who is hosting us today, Synaltic, XWiki, Vortex, Linagora, OpenUp, and of course our 2 NGI projects that we consider sponsors because they are important for our activity. Christian, maybe you want to say something quickly? Maybe you know Christian. He's the president. We are an association, so I'm the CEO and he's the president. The president is elected. He's a volunteer. So, Christian.
Thank you. So wonderful to see so many of you here today. I think it must be one of the busiest OW2cons we have. I think we have people from the US, from North Africa, obviously around Europe. So I know Poland and places like that. So really fantastic. And also China. So really great to see the scope of OW2 and the conference broadening year by year. The one word or the one mention I would like to say today is obviously today's conference I think is really important. The focus has been or is on funding, which is extremely important in the open source world. We're seeing a lot of open source uptake in companies. I think it's 80% of companies are using open source, 90% of public institutions are using it. And we also have, of course, with that uptake of open source, we have increased interest by legislators. So whether it's the Cyber Resilience Act in Europe, or one of the executive orders in the US, we know that there is interest in what's happening in open source in terms of de-risking the supply chain. And when we talk about de-risking supply chain, of course, we're not just talking about bad actors trying to inject open source into or backdoors into open source. But we're also talking about, of course, supporting our chain of supply through open source. So we're not talking about curating open source, we're talking about supporting open source. And if we're talking about supporting open source, funding is obviously a key element, which is why it's so important that we have these discussions. Even if it's not the only point that's interesting for open source, I think it is a key element. So I'm going to hand the microphone back to Pierre-Yves, stop talking, and thank you all for this great conference. Welcome.